Yeah, I'm sitting here today with my good friend Nimrod Kovacs. Nimrod, so good to see you.
Nice to see you.
You and I go way, way back. I mean,
Indeed.
To frame it, you were actually my first real boss after university, to put it in perspective, which is a few moons ago or a few vintages ago.
1982, I seem to recall.
That's right. It was. This is the Dream, Believe, Do interview I like to do and talk about dreams that people have or had and what they did or what they're doing. You've got so many stories you could tell, ranging from when you immigrated, when you left Hungary and escaped to the West during communist times. Is there a story you'd like to share specifically today that comes to mind?
Well, when I lived in Hungary at that time, it was a communist country, obviously, and I fell in love with rock and roll, and I fell in love with American movies, and I said, I'd love to be visiting the United States, and I'd like to maybe even live there. That was a dream of mine way back. And as it turned out, I had to escape to get out of Hungary at that time. But when, after being, a refugee in Italy for 6 months, I showed up in New York City, and that was like, I arrived in heaven. So that was a dream.
That's a very short version of a dream there.
But it's true. And then I firsthand was able to see American movies and listen to rock and roll big time. So that was a dream of mine, which, fortunately got fulfilled. And I'm fortunate enough to have lived in America for many, many years, and I still do consider America as one of my homes. It's a dream. And the other dream of mine is I like to make some money.
Okay.
I like to be a businessman, so to speak. And, I'm a waiter by profession, as you may recall. And I was living in Colorado at that time, working as a waiter in a restaurant and going to college, putting myself through school. And then I said, I'd like to figure out what business to get into. And after college, I went to graduate school at Thunderbird in Arizona, and I fell in love with advertising. And I said, I'd love to be in New York City in a real advertising way. And I remember when I was fortunate enough to be hired by DDB as an agency I worked for, and I remember walking down on 6th Avenue and looking at these huge buildings, all these major corporations. Yes, this is it. I like to do this. And so that was another dream, and the dream came through after joining the cable industry. God has been good to me, threw some money at me, and that's sort of like the financial part came through as well.
It's amazing though, because you've got, there's like 4 or 5 long stories in there,
yes.
From escaping from Hungary, because as I recall, you kind of swam out in the Adriatic around over to Italy and so forth. Okay, that's one thing. Landed in the States, you want to go to school, and you put yourself through university. You got to university, you wanted to work in advertising, worked on Madison Avenue in New York, and you came out to Denver, got into cable television, which treated you very well for many, many years. You've since launched a winery. Yeah. There's a common theme in here, I think. There's a common theme about it is you've had dreams and you've gone for those dreams.
Well, the reality is that whatever you can think of and you can formulate in your mind, you can do. And it's sort of everything happens in your head. It's no dream. Obviously there are some. I couldn't be an Olympic swimmer or whatever. There's certain limitations to it, but anything within reason, if you set your mind to it and you focus on it and do the steps, which obviously what it takes. Obviously key to success is, as you recall, 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. So the hard work cannot be substituted, but most everything that I think you want to do, you can do. And I'm fortunate enough that everything I want to do, I was able to accomplish. That's how I got into the wine business, is that I always enjoyed wine. Is that wouldn't that be fun to have a top-end winery? And that's kind of my current dream, so to speak. I'm trying to build Kovacs Nimrod Winery into a world-class winery.
Okay, so with each of those steps you take, you said if you put your mind to it and keep persevering, you can make it happen. But there's always obstacles you encounter along the way, right? When you wanted to leave Hungary, it was the fact you couldn't leave Hungary legally or not easily, but you found a way around that by you escaped, essentially.
Right, that's correct.
But then there's a big gap in there of being in a refugee camp and finding your way to the States, and that took some help to get there. But how, as you bump up against these different obstacles, what have you done besides just persevering? Is there any tips you can share in terms of how to drive forward?
It's the power of positive thinking. I guess it's the key, is to believe that you can do it. And, it's the ask, believe, and receive. I mean, that's kind of how the sequence works. And you sort of ask for it and believe you can accomplish it and do it. And another kind of a tidbit I found is that there are no failures. There are just lessons. And anything you run into, something, well, shit. What do I learn from this? What did I do wrong in this particular situation? And how do I recoup from it? And then how do I find another way around getting to the point? And most cases, it's possible.
Interesting. Positivity, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. When you bump up against these obstacles, just to keep thinking forward, keep pushing forward.
Right.
What have been some of the hardest parts in trying to move forward? Is there any particular instances of obstacles you ran into that jump out at you as being really hard?
Basically, I found that whatever happens to you, you really cannot really control it. It's sort of almost like the alignment of the stars. And there are some good periods and not so good periods. But what you can control is how you react to it. And if you get all pissed off and, blame the world and, get angry and blah, 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 you are in a bad mindset to really understand what's going on. And getting back to a good mindset, I think, is very important for any advancement. And I found that the key to that is gratitude.
Okay, explain.
It's fundamentally, you should start out by being grateful for all the things you have. And those could be small things. You're healthy, your family is okay, you have food on your table, and you are not cold and all this stuff. So these small things. And after going through that list of stuff, then you are in a mindset of positivity. And when you're in a mindset of positivity, then all of a sudden clarity comes about all the other things that you may have found to be difficult to cope with. And then after clarity comes, then you are in a position to be able to navigate through the time frame or the maze, so to speak, to get out of the hole, so to speak, or overcome the obstacles and move on.
And be ready to receive.
Ready to receive. It's really there. I believe that all the key successful people I met, all were pretty positive and pretty grateful for all the things they had. And I think it's something that we should all learn from.
Excellent. You said there are no failures. There's just lessons.
That's correct.
Any major lessons that you recall that shaped you or sent you in different directions?
I mean, I ran into a wall a few times over the years. But fortunately, I didn't die. I remember Nietzsche said, anything that won't kill you will make you stronger or teach you something new. So, I mean, I did a lot of things. I mean, obviously, I'm an old guy. I'm 65 now. I will be 66 this year. So I've seen a few things over the years. And, yes, I ran into some difficulties and took some time to understand what they were. And fortunately, I was able to regroup and move on.
There you go. What have been some of the biggest surprises along this journey of yours? Anything that you find has been really significantly eye-opening along your way?
Well, you can rely only on yourself, basically. That's one lesson. I mean, you are the person who makes things happen. And some people are helpful, some people are not, but you cannot rely on that. And there are really no huge surprises. I mean, it's if you assume that you need to carry on yourself and move on, then basically, I mean, I really do believe, this may sound strange, but I believe that there is no such thing as objective reality.
Okay.
It's only subjective reality. Everybody lives in his own world and they perceive what they perceive. And therefore, convincing people to your reality is completely useless. It's like, remember the old saying that teaching a pig to sing. I mean, obviously, the process, irritates the pig and, kind of frustrates you because the pig doesn't want to sing. And so there are certain things that, I believe that I can change people's views, but they cannot be, because this is how they look at the world, and they just have to kind of learn to deal with it and move on.
Excellent. So there are a lot of people out there that have dreams they're pursuing or wanting to pursue or thinking about pursuing. Any sage advice for them that you would share in terms of what they can do to move themselves forward?
Well, set a realistic goal, first of all. As I said earlier, if I want to be an Olympic swimmer at age 65 would be very difficult. So a realistic goal, what is attainable, obviously. And set your mind to it and whack at it every day.
Every day.
Every day. Every day. I mean, it's sort of like Remember that it's, obviously a business guy you are. And remember the Bolster Consulting Group's this little kind of a priority thing, which had two dimensions with four little boxes. One is importance, another one is urgency. Remember that?
Right.
And the four little boxes. So what's very important and very urgent is something that people need to spend most of their time on. But there are very few things which are very important and very urgent. I mean, if you have an accident and, you need to rush someone to the hospital, obviously, is that. And then there is a box which is not urgent and not important. And many people spend their time in that box, like playing video games or fucking around or, just doing useless stuff. But there is a box which to me is the most important thing, is what's important but not urgent. How do I deal with relationship issues? How do I deal with my children? How do I make a difference in the world? Which I can sit on a day or two, but really I found that if you set your day every day, pick those important things and spend enough time on those to move them forward for that day. And then move them forward next day and move them forward next day, and then we'll get the important things accomplished and don't spend any time on non-important, non-urgent things.
Excellent.
Waste of time is waste of time.
That's excellent.
Waste of life.
It is a waste of life. Absolutely. It is.
Right. So I guess that's how it works for me.
I think it's great. Nimrod, thank you so much.
Dennis, it's my pleasure.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.